Yeah, it was the cost for one. It was back to school sale. Originally, it's like $800, and I got it for $5. So I'm like, hell yeah. Um, and I've been kind of like looking at it for a while. Like the other one didn't. It looked. I think the Pro. I was like, no, like that's like too much for me. Like I don't even know how to use it. So let me get something that's like good. It'll last me a little bit, and then if I feel like I need something fancier, I can get it. But yeah, that was my thinking. Plus, like, it was on sale. Like, I could not believe it. Like, I just checked on a whim because I check on it every once in a while, just kind of like, how much is it going for? Oh, okay, cool. It's still $900.
Where's that? Where's your head at? iPad.
Yeah, but Target was like the one where I bought it, and yeah, it was on sale. So I was like, cool, done.
Have you picked out a case?
No. I'm like, I don't know which one I want, and I don't want to commit to one. And
oh, dude, some of the cases were just like super intense. I'm like, I don't want this big bulky thing around it.
Right, that has like a fucking lanyard to go with it. I saw some like I'm like, I'm not working at an Apple store. But yeah, I'm like in shock still. Like, this is crazy that I have this, and I can't wait to play all with it. I downloaded a lot of stuff, but I kind of messed around in Procreate for a while. The camera's a little weird, but I won't be using it for the camera.
Shut up.
Are you excited for next week?
I'm mad. That's the only. There have been a lot of red flags with this place.
Oh, no.
But the thing that makes me upset is that whatever was happening with HR that took it so long is I missed the 2 weeks of work. I could have been working.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. I haven't worked since last Wednesday.
Wow.
Because she told me when I got offered that HR has a really quick turnaround, and that she'd like to see me up at the campus Thursday and Friday. Thursday if it's just like an hour or something, but Friday because they had a couple of para meetings. So I go up there Thursday and Friday. J-Bot, hi!
Hey, J-Bot.
Listen to me vent about my new job. And so I go up there Thursday and Friday. I had my last day Wednesday, and she's like, "Oh, you haven't been through orientation. You haven't been through fingerprinting." I'm like, "No, I've had zero communication since your phone call last week." And so she's like, "Well, let me call HR." And HR didn't get back to me until they called me later that day to get my social, and she said, "I'll call you back later this afternoon to get you an appointment for fingerprinting. It'll either be later today or first thing in the morning." I said, "Great." I didn't hear back from HR until Monday. And they said there was something going on with my social that it took longer to process. And then we got me scheduled for fingerprinting Tuesday and got my batch picture taken then. And then she said, "I'll have the results on Wednesday and I'll send you to get your para certificate then." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So Wednesday she finally emails me, and she's like, "All right, cool. Your fingerprints came back. Here's the link to get your para certificate." So I log on, email her back. "I got it done. It's processed." She's like, "Okay, here's the new hire packet paperwork. The sooner you get these into me, the better." I said, "Cool. Done. Signed. Dated. Here you go."
Like, if you would have given this to me a week ago, I would have had it to you a week ago.
Yeah. Like, I'm literally waiting on y'all. And so she's like, "Okay, well, I need you to come by either Thursday, Friday, or Monday to get to do your social security card and your ID, and then to, get all your transcripts on file. I was like, okay, no problem. I'll be up there tomorrow. And she's like, we couldn't get you on orientation for Thursday, so it's going to have to be on Tuesday. So, yeah, I guess it just was last week. I feel like it's been like 3 weeks doing all of this. It's been 2. It's been 1. It's been a week. So I go up there Thursday morning, get everything turned into her. She's like, all right, cool, you're done. You just need to have orientation on Tuesday, and you can start on Wednesday.
All right. Well, I just chalk it up to like not having your shit together at the start of the year, and like hopefully like the process would be pretty easy.
Yeah. I'm just like, look, it's done. I made it through. That's all that matters. I don't even care. Just I want to start working. Yes, Peach, it was a headache. It wasn't even a headache. It was just an anxiety ball because I had no communication. Nobody was emailing me. Nobody was calling me. And I didn't want to be that person calling them every 5 minutes,
Yeah, or like, this person's so thirsty.
Right.
For their employment.
I was just like, I'm not used to being on the hiring end. I'm used to being, or on the being hired end. I'm used to being on the hiring end where I hire other people. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's a waiting game. But y'all could have fucking told me that I could have worked another week.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Tuesday comes, you do orientation. Wednesday, first day. I'm excited for you.
I want to get one of those first day of school signs.
Oh my god, you should do that. Can I make it for you?
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
Okay, I'll make it for you. If you bring me like a little plaque, like I'll make it for you.
Dude, I was straight up thinking of like getting like a poster board or something.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
We are actually, we need to work on something for Eros this weekend. He has to make a About Me poster. So we're gonna put that together this weekend.
No.
Welcome back, J-Bot. We're still talking about our day. How was your day?
I'll come by Tuesday.
Hey, Peach, Naples was dropped off, by the way. Ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, we're good. Let's do it.
I think I ordered Italian food from my favorite Italian place because I deserved it, and it got delivered just now.
Is this an eating stream? Or are we gonna eat dinner on stream?
Yeah, it can be. It's just, but like I'm having pasta, so
slip.
Yeah, it's gonna be super messy. We are ready to go, Peach.
Hi, Rosie Bosie. How are you doing?
Hello.
Did you say hello? No, I said hello, but that's close enough.
Where is that from?
The labyrinth. It's a little worm.
What's gonna be our next watch party movie? Do you know yet?
No, I don't know yet. But I do need to set one up for September. My mom's coming to visit it next month.
Oh, that's good. Peach, we are ready to go. Sorry, we'll can it for now.
It's just a talk show. Much like on The Amanda Show,
we also love
The Girls' Room. But we are
Ya Heard, where our high energy ramblings cover our day-to-day lives.
So sit back and enjoy
Ya Heard. What up, peeps? And hello, Sylvie.
Sorry.
I hope everybody had a good week. My week was rough, so I am so looking forward to book club and talking about Renegades by Melissa Meyers. How are you doing, Puzzle?
Good. Yeah, this week, as most of y'all probably heard, has been an anxiety ball week. So I'm excited to talk about Renegades. I had actually made a resource list for teens, and my theme was superheroes, and Renegades was on that list. So I was really, really excited to actually get to read it.
That's awesome. I enjoyed the story immensely. It is a young adult book, and I do think that there's value of young adults reading it. But me at 29, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, as what I was saying, I was telling you earlier, there's a couple of times when I was reading it, I'm like, man, this is just it's a little high school writing. And then I'm like, oh, it's a book for teenagers in high school. Okay, you know what? This makes perfect sense. Let's keep going. But, she created such wonderful characters and was able to give them very distinct personalities. And I loved that.
Yes, same here. All right, so Renegades by Melissa Meyers. One thing in the book, and I was telling Puzzle this before the stream, is that I really wanted more history. I was actually talking about it with J-Bot last night when she was starting to read, and she was just like, okay, so what's happening? And I have to agree, like, it was a little difficult trying to piece it together, like where you're at in this age, but I have a brief history for you. So there was this period called the Age of Anarchy, where these supervillains called the Anarchists formed this group to rise up against being discriminated against and lab tested, etc. They were people with powers. They were called prodigies, and people were scared of them or wanted to study them, and they treated them very badly. Like if you were a prodigy, there was a really high chance that you could die. So the anarchists form, and in response, other villain groups kind of took advantage of the rebellion that they came up with, and they did it for like their own greed and ambition, and it really took a turn. Like it didn't start out basically for that reason, but it turned that way because of other people's, like I said, greed and ambition. So in response to that, a superhero group called the Council formed, and they actually ended up defeating the anarchists on what they called Triumph Day. And we learned that this rebellion led to two things. One, society's acceptance of superheroes, but before they didn't want anything to do with people who are prodigies. And two, society's reliance on superheroes. So they have the council ended up forming like a superhero coalition called the Renegades, and they have branches all over the world where they basically rent out their superheroes to whatever cause, and keeping society in check. And everybody wants to be part of the Renegades, but you have to try out, so it's very exclusive, and it's a big deal to get into this organization. At the end of this Age of Anarchy, the council and the anarchists actually signed like a treaty to say, like, listen, like, you are not gonna do your crimes against the world anymore. You're not gonna come at us or hurt people. Like, this is done, this is over, you're admitting defeat, and we can live cohesively for the most part. But their life is like in squalor, basically. Like the people that we're focusing on in the story, they live in tunnels, and society's still rebuilding itself from this rebellion.
Yeah, the council basically created this police force. Like, they are the police force. They are the people you go to when you need help with anything. And society had just become so dependent on them.
Yeah, reliant for sure. They will call like, oh, this is not a job for me, this is a job for a hero, and report it in and then go on their way. And I think honestly, like for people who, not even like other prodigies that couldn't get into the Renegades, but just for like your basic human, like it was like, what's your purpose? like, I don't, like, how are you comfortable being so complacent? So I just thought that was interesting. So this story opens like right towards the end of the Age of Anarchy, and we meet our character, her name Nova Artino, and she's 6 years old. She just witnesses her parents and her little sister Evie murdered like right in front of her. She managed to hide, and what ended up happening from that was her parents' killers were hired for murder, since Nova's father was like in behind on some requests for them by a villain gang, and yeah, they just straight up murked them. And can you imagine at 6 years old? That's like pretty traumatizing to witness.
Yeah, and then because we find out even when Nova is 6 that she is a prodigy. She is able to put others to sleep with just her touch. Her parents definitely welcome this with the 3-month-old baby or 6-month-old baby. So when she hears the killer come through the room, she hears the confrontation with the parents, and so she leaves Evie to kind of go see what's going on. And then that's when the shooting starts, and so she runs to her closet. She's like, fuck, I forgot my sister. And then unfortunately she hears the gunshot for her sister, and when the killer comes into the room and he finds her, she is able, I don't remember how it happened, but she is able to actually put him to sleep. And then she just stands over him and watches him holding a gun to his head until her uncle Ace comes back to the house, and he's like, oh, all right, little girl, let's go. My little nightmare.
Yeah, my little nightmare. So Ace is actually like, we don't see a lot of him. We hear snippets about him throughout the book, but we don't know a lot about him as a character. Trying to dance around spoilers.
So she knows him as Uncle Ace, but who he is really was the Ace of the Age of Anarchy. He kind of led the rebellions against the people that were holding prodigies captive, and he just wanted to, get them free and out from under that. But with the villain games, it turned into more anarchy and chaos. And so he is definitely painted as the villain. And I honestly thought it was interesting to see the main villain character in a familial light.
Right. Yes. So yeah, he was her uncle, and we'll get to it in a minute, but some other anarchists after the Age of Anarchy is done, they kind of form together and make their own like makeshift family. But Ace is interesting because he is the leader of this rebellion. He's the council's number one enemy, and he's powerful, but he's also likable. And like in the back, I don't know, like flashbacks that we see from Nova. But with Nova in particular, it's interesting because she, after witnessing the death of her parents, and of course her uncle is, the leader of this rebellion, her father actually went to the council to ask them for protection. These other gangs, like, they were sending threats, and the council gave him his word. Yes, we'll be there, we'll protect you. And they just weren't there. And they were too late. So Nova like holds a lot of hatred for the council and the Renegades because she just thinks that they're like false gods. Like, why are you idolizing them? Like, we should be able to do things on our own, or we should live in a society where this is not okay, or we have to wait for superheroes. And then of course she's being raised by her uncle, who is a leader of a rebellion. So, she's really seen one side of these renegades her entire life.
Her uncle, he takes her under his wing, back with him to their base at this point was a cathedral. And up until the Day of Triumph, you know, she had started to get to know the other anarchists and kind of learn more about herself. But then on the Day of Triumph, the main guy, Captain
Chromium,
Captain Chromium, basically kills Ace. And his proof of killing Ace is, we learn later on in the book that Ace is a telepathic, so he can move objects and himself with his mind.
Telekinetic, thank you.
And the way he focuses his power is with a helmet that her father had made. And so what the captain does to show that he has killed Ace is he has the helmet on a spear with the spear going through it. And that was the Day of Triumph. And that's the picture that everybody, when they think of that moment, is they think of the captain on the steps of this cathedral with rubble all around them and Ace at his feet and him holding the spear with the helmet. And so she's grown up hating the Renegades, who they themselves, during the Age of Anarchy, had formed in a basement. They were just kind of tired of people getting picked on and murdered and the villain sprees that were happening. So they just said, cool, we're going to go take care of that. Which, good for them though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like trying to be on the side of justice, you know, like in order, I guess you could say. And honestly, like thinking about like that image you created, right? With the helmet, with the spear through it. Like what other iconic things in history can we think of? Like D-Day with the flag, you know, there's the peace symbol from Nixon. Like there's like so many different things that you think of in history that have like that sort of symbolism to it. Like, you know, oh, maybe not Nixon, but you know, like D-Day, it holds significance. And if you think about D-Day, you think about that picture on the beaches of Normandy. So this is kind of like their own D-Day in a sense. So
go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. So we kind of fast forward, right? Like we don't really get to see Nova grow up from age 6 to 17 that she was, 16.
Yeah, because it's like 9 years later.
Yeah. So we open with her persona Nightmare, and she's working with a team of anarchists, and it's Triumph Day. So the council of all the renegades are doing a parade, you know, kind of showing off, you know, it's kind of like very patriotic for the citizens in the city. And they are trying to assassinate Captain Chromium. And I say try because obviously they were not successful.
No.
But before the assassination attempt, Nova's in the crowd and she interacts with a guy named, you know, Adrian. And how it happens is that some little girl kind of comes up to her and swipes her bracelet, and she's lived a life of crime. Like she knows a pickpocket when she sees one, even if she gets. Oh no, she didn't.
She didn't, because they bumped into each other, and
That's right.
The girl slipped it off her wrist, and the little girl went to bump into Adrian, and Adrian picks her up by the leg and is like, all right, give it back, kind of shakes her down.
That's right. And Nova's like, oh my god, nobody has ever like stolen from me like that.
She was shook.
She was shook. So this bracelet like holds like a lot of significance for her, but there's a part that's broken, and Adrian demonstrates that he's also a prodigy, and how he does that is he pulls out a marker and he draws like a little class and brings it to life for her and fixes her bracelet for her. He is a prodigy who can bring his drawings to life, and his renegade alias is Sketch. At this point, she doesn't know that he's a renegade until later. Spoiler, not really. And she kind of goes on her merry way, and he's trying to like flirt with her, right? Like he's trying to be a little smooth, and she's just not having it, which is so different for him because he's actually somebody pretty important.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. So fast forward to the assassination attempt. She has a couple of slip-ups before then, and right as she's lighting up for her shot, one of her fellow anarchists, called the Puppeteer, comes crashing the parade and basically ruins their plans. She still tries to shoot her shot. She misses. So Captain Chromium's power is that he's literally invincible. His only vulnerability is his eye. So their thought process was shoot him in the eye, he'll be dead.
They didn't
Right
even
when
know it would work. They were just like, we're going to try this, see if it works.
It was like their best guess. So she shoots him, and he, at the last second, just like moves slightly, and the bullet bounces off the corner of his cheek. And she's kind of like, fuck. So she's trying to escape, and in the process of escaping, she ends up running across a new prodigy. And he goes by the name of the Sentinel. We later come to find out that this is actually Adrian / Sketch, now the Sentinel, who is wanting to step out of the shadow of his two dads, which is, I think that was awesome to see in literature. And his two dads are Captain Chromium and then another superhero called Dread Warden. And they're like the leaders of the council, like head of the Renegades. He's actually adopted, but we'll talk about that later. And he's just wanting to step out of their light and show them that he can do more with his abilities and just, be called someone's sketch. Like, it seems kind of juvenile. So like, he's in that transition period. Like, I want to be a man. And he tries to take down Nightmare / Nova. And she whoops his ass.
So what Adrian has done for the Centennial was he drew like a big armor. I don't know how else to phrase that. A big armor.
Right.
This big armor bodysuit, kind of like Iron Man Gen 1. And he gives himself extra powers by tattooing them. Yeah. So he's able to jump really far distances because he tattooed springs on the bottom of his feet. He is able to blast fire out of his hand because he has tattooed a fire symbol like somewhere on his wrist. So it's actually really cool that his power is able to do something like this, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
But he also, since this is his first time actually really using the suit outside of his practices, he's very awkward. And he actually ends up getting in the way of a renegade team who we learn to find is his renegade team, while trying to capture Nova. So he's trying to capture him. The Renegades team's trying to capture him. He ends up hurting one of his teammates, Monarch, who is able to turn herself into a bunch of butterflies.
Which I think is so cool.
Right? Like, how do you even...
The stealth of that. Like, that's awesome.
Next D&D character idea. And so he actually ends up hurting her because he's using his fire for one of the first times. Ends up burning her. And between his clumsiness and their concerns, he does pin Nova. He kind of like holds her up over the edge of a building, and they're having the back and forth, the villain and superhero type thing.
The dialogue.
When she says something to him that shakes him to his core.
Yes. She says, "One cannot be brave who has no fear." And this means a lot to him because his mom was a superhero named Lady Indomitable, and she had the ability to fly. They don't know who killed her. Nobody's ever claimed it. But when they recovered her body in an alleyway, it appeared that she had fallen, which is weird because she can fly. Like, why? How would she fall off the top of a building? But on her person was a note, and it said those words. So he is like on alert. Like, what did you say? Like, is this the first time I'm going to get some answers on what happened to my mom?
But Nova actually ends up getting away. She climbs into the Puppeteer's hot air balloon, and she and the puppeteer realize that Nate needs to get rid of some dead weight to clear some of the buildings. She goes, okay, bye, and basically flips the puppeteer out of the hot air balloon down to the ground below, sacrificing him so that she can get away, which was boss move, girl. Boss move.
I don't know. Like at that point, I was just like, you've been like super righteous about the Renegades, but then somebody who's supposedly like your family, like you're just gonna I guess you are villains, right? Like I love you enough.
He fucked everything over.
He did. He wasn't supposed to be there. So he ends up following, and they take him into custody, obviously, because he violated their treaty. And yeah, so Nova had put him to sleep. She escapes, and the rest of the anarchists are in high alert because they just know a visit from the Renegades is coming. And a team of Renegades did go to their tunnels. Nightmare was able to hide away, or Nova. She was able to hide away, and she watched this entire scene. So this team of Renegades, led by a superhero named Frostbite, which, by the way, I fucking hate her, and I think we're gonna see her in other books. I think she's awful. She's an awful person. They're basically flexing, like it kind of reminded me of like police brutality and intimidation, like just kind of like, oh, like no one's gonna believe you, like it's your word against our word, like what are they gonna say? And these other anarchists that we know and love besides Detonator, they're just like, you can't do this, like we haven't done anything wrong, like you can't do anything without proof, number one. And yes, you do need to read it, Peach. It's so good. And like I said, you just see the blatant overuse of power. And at this moment, Frostbite has one of the anarchists, the Detonator, in like an ice block, and she's gonna die of like hypothermia. The Sentinel walks in, and he basically like kind of like cools everybody off, and he appeals to the Renegades and saying like, nobody knows who I am. You guys are trying to figure out who I am. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is that I report directly to the council, which is like a huge thing, right? You're like, oh, like, are you a special project that we're just not high enough on the pay grade to know about? And they leave out of fear for that. And he basically is trying to ask like for information on Nightmare, like who is she? Who is she related to them? And looking for answers. So this kind of stirs a plan to go into effect for Nova to adopt a new identity, which is Insomnia. And she tries out to be a renegade. And the whole process of getting a whole new identity, she had to like burn her fingertips to alter her fingerprints. There was a lot of money spent, and there's always the risk of being exposed in one way or another. But yeah, she tries out, and that was interesting.
These trials, they were more ridiculous than the Hunger Games, I swear. I felt.
Yeah.
So basically, in order to try out to become a renegade, you don't put in an application and they review everything and they get back to you. No, it is a grand affair in an arena, and the renegade teams, they have their tables, and you walk before the tables, the renegades, and then the council also up in the stands, and you showcase your power.
Wow.
And if the teams like your power and they want you, they'll hit their yes button. But if another team is like, I don't really think you should have that person, they'll be like, cool, we challenge you. So then you have to fight with one of the other team members, and you actually get to choose who you pick or who you fight.
Yeah.
And you have people in the stands, they have their yay and nay signs. They're like, we want challenges, we want duels. And so then we see Nova step forward, and she's basically like, yeah, I can't really show you my power because I just don't sleep. which we come to find out that she hasn't slept since the night of her family's murder. Anytime she tried to sleep, she had nightmares. She heard the gunshots, and it just got to a point where she was like, nope, not sleeping. I'm done. I'm cool. And so she started practicing. She started doing fighting, martial arts, guns, knives, anything you could think of. She became
tinkering.
very productive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she made her own weapons. And I guess like training with Ace too, like in all those team of villains, like I can only imagine, you know, that I was confident in her ability before the book showcased them. And it kind of reminds, what's that like reality TV show where they like, not American Idol, but like the one where they press the thing and then they spin around?
The Voice.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit about that. So she has a lot of snark and she's sassy. Like her stance that described in the book is kind of like, this is who I am, and internally she's thinking like, this is my enemy, I'm here to take down the Renegades from the inside. Speech. And she just has this like air about her, like it's not arrogance, it's like a confidence. And nobody selects her, but when Adrian sees her, who's Sketch, he's just like, oh my gosh, it's the girl from the other day, this is fate. I know that, you know, she could be really good for surveillance. So he hits the button and his teammates are all like, thanks for making it a team decision.
Right, because they come forward and they're like, oh, we don't really need any new team members. We got the 4 of us. We're pretty great about it. Monarch's recovering. But when Aiden like sees her, he kind of uses the excuse of, oh, well, we need a new watch person and someone who doesn't sleep. That is really going to help us. Yeah, Adrian, that's exactly what you want Nova for.
Oh yeah, definitely. So he says yes to the dress, girl. He said, and he accepts them. And there is one person who challenges them, and it's a revisit from our local RBF, Frostbite. And she says, I challenge on the basis that she hasn't showcased anything. And they're like, oh, like shit, like, you know, like it's like a whole thing. It's like kind of like reality TV. And she's like, okay, I accept her challenge. And they're like, okay, well, you get to pick one of her team to fight. And she picks the biggest motherfucker, which is prison rules, right? Like you pick the biggest guy and you take him out.
This guy, what was his name? Gargoyle. He was able to turn his skin into stone at will, which is really cool, first of all. But he's he believes brawn over brain.
So she uses her skills, and the whole purpose of it is like not to like kill or maim, is to push him out of a circle. And she does so very clever. Like she's very clever, she's very witty. Obviously she's a lot smaller than her. Yeah, she's a lot smaller than her opponent, but you know, she's fine. Like she does great. And she showcases that like, yeah, like even without a superpower, I was still able to beat you. And I thought that was a pretty important distinction for Nova. So
because she can't use her actual superpower, which is putting people to sleep, because then everybody would know she is Nightmare. Yeah, and she's been really good about concealing like what her actual face looks like. Like nobody knows who Nightmare is. Nobody has any information on her, doesn't know her affiliations, nothing. And they're desperately trying to find this girl, especially after her assassination attempt. So there's a couple of things during her, you know, Nova's time with the Renegades. You know, she finds a file on her family. She knows that some details of the report are under restricted access, which she finds annoying because it's like her family. She discovers a member of Adrian's team. His name is Max, and he's a kid. And he is in quarantine.
And she doesn't really know why. She uncovers that they're forming a secret weapon by using Max, and she learns a few truths about what happens on Triumph Day, all the while getting really close with Adrian. But also like they both have to keep their identities from each other. She's Nightmare, he's a Sentinel. In their alter egos, he's trying to find her and kill her, and she's trying to escape and then murder his family.
Yeah.
But she comes like, I think the best thing about this book for me is that, like, you've seen The Boys, right?
Yeah.
Like, The Boys, all the superheroes were dicks, and they were only there for themselves. But in this book, the characters, especially some of the heroes, like, some of them sucked, like Frostbite, but there's some of them where you're like, okay, this person actually believes what they're doing is for good, and they uphold their code and honor. So it changes, I think it changes her perspective on like hurting these people or letting them down.
It definitely does, especially after. So in the Renegade building, it's like 80 something floors, and technically there's only probably like 5 that are actually off limits, but there's one that feels like it should be off limits, but you are able to go up there. And this floor has artifacts from some of the biggest fights that the Renegades have ever done. And so she's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I'm gonna go up here. So she goes up there and she finds the tapestry from the Day of Triumph, and it's depicting the captain over Ace's body holding the helmet up on the pike. And as she goes through the different artifacts, she kind of recognizes some of them, but at the very end of the hall is Ace's destroyed helmet. And while she's looking at it and she's picking it up, the Dread Warden kind of pops up behind her, and she's like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. He's like, no, you're okay. He's like, this actually isn't even the real Ace's helmet. We couldn't destroy it.
She says it's not the real one. She figured it out because she figured it out because, like, for one, it wasn't as heavy, and then the metal was different. Like, it was like simple copper, but it was made out of a completely different metal. But she was able to use other details that she wouldn't like intimately know about it. And he was like, oh wow, like, you're super observant. Like, I don't think anybody else had ever caught that before.
A conversation with her, like, almost as a father figure. Like, he's just a dad talking to, you know, a new team member, and he tells her what really happens on the Day of Triumph, which was that it wasn't like the picture that was depicted. Ace's body fell over into a fire, and that was it, pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna I don't think we don't want to give away the end, because if you haven't read it, that is a really good starting point for you. And honestly, it's like half of the book. But there's just so many other details in it that were just, I don't know, it really makes you think. You know, you saw anarchist villains that were just trying to survive and just trying to do what they had to do to get through, especially those who witnessed, you know, their friends or family be ripped away from their homes just for being different. And then you also see, you know, some superheroes that are just they're not super at all. They're just assholes that abuse their power. Yeah. It was interesting to see that, for sure.
The anarchists, there's about 4 of them. 1, 2.
Yeah, so it's the Detonator, Queen Bee, Cyanide, Phobia. Which, can we talk about that? Phobia's power is he can tell what your greatest fear is. Like, that is a scary fucking power for somebody to have. Almost as much as Kilgrave in Jessica Jones, who has the power of manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Queen Bee, for me, every time she came in, all I could think of was, you remember Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends?
Yeah.
What's her name? The snooty one. Duchess. That's what she reminded me of.
Yes.
She was very,
like,
I am the queen.
She played her role well. But she was also like, I'm a lady, but I'll fuck you up.
But she actually had the power over basically anything flying and had a stinger in it. Wasps, bees, murder hornets. And one of the most heartbreaking scenes with her was when the Renegade team came down to the subway tunnels, and Gargoyle went and found some of her beehives that she had and smashed them in front of her, killing hundreds of bees. Like,
my heart shattered into a million pieces during that scene in the book.
Yeah.
It was just uncalled for.
Like, why are you gonna hurt the bees though, man? They didn't do anything to you. They're just little worker drones. Like, come on.
Yeah. I think another thing for me is, like, we're talking about, like, the villains versus the heroes, like how different Nova and Adrian are. So Nova kind of grew up on one side of the tracks, and Adrian grew up on the other side of the tracks, but they don't really have a good understanding of each other until they meet, but they can't even tell each other really that, especially Nova. So it's kind of like almost like a love triangle, but like the other piece of that triangle is their ambition, not the bees.
And it's like Nova knows, she's kind of getting the hints that Adrian is looking for Nightmare, because anytime Adrian gets in a room with people who have information, he's like, hey, who's Nightmare? Where's Nightmare? What are we gonna do about Nightmare? Like, he's so focused, he doesn't even realize that he has to separate the Sentinel and himself.
So I have a question for you, Puzzled. Let's talk about superpowers.
Oh no.
What power would you want? So we saw fire manipulation, Detonator was able to manifest bombs and control them with her mind. Queen Bee had power over anything with flight. Adrian could draw things to life. That one's kind of cool. Magnus, I want to be like Magneto.
I know. I was gonna say, I'd either want like a form of mind reading or teleportation. Like, I just want to teleport wherever I want to go.
Oh my god, that sounds like an awesome superpower.
What about you?
What about you guys in chat too? Tell me what superpower you would want. I think I would want. I think the librarian superpower is really cool. So he had the power of knowledge, like he remembered everything he ever read. It certainly would come in handy during book club when I'm trying to remember details of the book. And okay, so what power would you turn down?
Would I turn down?
Yeah, like power you're like, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with that.
Maybe the origami
teleportation
one.
Yeah, that one kind of sucked.
He would make these little origami things, and if like there's a crane, it would be able to fly away. Like, cool, bro. Or manipulation. Yeah.
That reminds me of Sky High. Oh, yes. Oh my god. New season's coming out of Umbrella Academy. I'm excited about that. So that brings me to my next question. Okay, so superheroes are such mainstays in like our culture, in books, in movies, on television. We've watched The Boys, we watched Invincible, you know, of course we have Marvel going on, What If, now we're talking about Renegades. Like, why do you think that superheroes are like so big in our culture?
I think it's just because we can't do that. As humans, I think, always kind of feel like we're lacking and that we want to be better. And by having some sort of power, it will make us better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a deep ass question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like, say, like, you're Captain Chromium, right? Who has the the power of invincibility. It's like, wouldn't you feel like some type of sense of obligation to help out people around you? And yeah, J-Bot saying, I feel like it's a manifestation of feeling helpless and lacking control to escape the everyday meh of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this series I watched, and I talked about it with you guys before, and you guys are probably so tired of me talking about it, but Troll Hunters, like, Jim, the main character, Jim, like, he's a hero and he gets put through so much shit that he didn't ask to be part of. And you just feel bad, or like, that's just the life of a hero, you know? Like, I don't know if I would want to choose that. Like, can I just be a regular fucking person? Like,
one of the cool things I really liked about Renegades was that a lot of people were born with their power, but some people develop their power later on. Like, take what was his teammate's name? The boy. I don't want to say Connor. It wasn't Connor. Who? Carter.
Oscar.
Thank you. So Oscar, his nickname was Smokescreen, and he was able to literally just bring in smoke, and, you know, kind of obscure the area, which would be really great in a teammate setting when you're trying to get your opponent at a disadvantage. But he shares with Nova that he was not born with his power. When he was very young, his family, their house caught on fire, and that he was actually pronounced legally dead. But once they got to the hospital, they kind of kept going with CPR on him, and all of a sudden he just had like a whiff of smoke come out of his mouth, and he was able to, you know, he was alive. And then since then he had been able to control smoke, which was like, wow, like, you're not just born, but you can also be created.
Okay, so that brings me to another question. Is it like created, or is it just dormant and it awakens when needed?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Well, interesting.
Maybe a bit of both, because I mean, even Nova's second power didn't come in until after she was 6. Just not sleeping.
Yeah. That's true. She had to go through something super. I think there's 2 more books for this series. I'm gonna definitely keep on reading it for sure. What is her second power? So her first power, yeah, she doesn't sleep. She doesn't have to sleep.
Oh, sorry, J-Bot.
Yeah, it's like midway. So, but yeah, I think there's like 2 more books in the series. I'm gonna keep reading it. I really like this writer too. And I encourage, like, you know, if you want to read it, definitely read it. But if you have any like teenagers in your life that are avid readers, definitely recommend it to them. I think they would enjoy it. Okay, I didn't get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, hers is just putting people to sleep and then not sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was Renegades. Are you gonna keep reading it, Puzzled? If you get a chance?
Yeah. Oh heck yeah. Because it was really good, and I thought it was really thought-provoking. and the twist ending. We're not going to say anything about it, but oh my God.
What a twist. What a twist. It was good. I did not see it coming at all. But yeah, I think that you guys are really going to enjoy it if you decide to read it. It's free on Kindle Unlimited. I don't know about anything anywhere else like Apple or anything, but
you might be able
it's
to
free on
get it from your local library as an ebook.
Yes. Or your kids can check it out at their school library.
There you go.
She sounds like Jigglypuff. You're not wrong. She's just like edgier. We do not have another book for book club yet. That will be decided at a later date, so keep your eye on our website, officialmillennials.com. Also, please be part of our book club discussion in Discord. And we do have chapter 2 for Sword and Bone on Sunday, which Scarlett and I have not finished reading yet, so fingers crossed we finish.
If you plan on joining us for that discussion, remember it is an open discussion, so we won't be live streaming it. It'll just be us in Twitch and a voice channel being able to talk about it. Take the which type of magic user you are. I literally just read it today and I can't remember what they Grisha. Yes. Take what kind of Grisha quiz are you quiz. I have to go back and take it again because I forgot what I got.
I got a grounder. No. That was for Children of Blood and Bone. Oh my God. I need to go back to that series. It was so good.
We are definitely going to be doing that. That one's chapter 2 after the first movie comes out. Yes. I'm super excited about that one.
You were the Plaguewood. J-Bot, do you remember which one I was?
I think I was a Tide Maker. Which I was like, okay. Their questions kind of almost led you to what it was. I'm gonna look in the book club one. Yeah, that's the Magi. I just saw it too. I don't think it was in Discord. Anyways, sorry. The tree grower one. Yeah, that was the Magi. Children of Blood and Bone. I think it's crazy how some of these books are just starting to have the same title in different words.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not seeing anything in Discord. Well, but I want to say that we did find a Grisha quiz at one point.
It's even highlighted in my Google search. I'm gonna pop it into the Discord, and then Sunday night we would come together and share.
I know what you're doing tomorrow.
Yeah, we're headed out of town tomorrow, and I'm like, hey, crazy, can you drive so I can read?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys are going.
Yeah, we're excited. Go see some family.
Little one's birthday.
It's a red egg party, so it's like a child reveal.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I was like, oh, well, maybe we can, listen to the audiobook, and we'll do the second one on the way there and the third one on the way back, and it'll be great. Yeah, the audiobook's 11 hours. Just kidding.
Fuck. All right. Well, thank you for joining. We appreciate you guys as always. TBD on next book club, and I hope you guys have a good night. We're good to wrap it up. Peach.
Who we got?
Johnny Cage or Jordan or Spartan.
Yesterday. Ooh, Spartan. Let's do Spartan. Bye,
Okay, let's
J-Bud.
do
I hope you have a
Spartan.
good night. Yeah, I got you. I got it. It's in chat. Raiders, please remember that once we raid, if you will go up to your URL and take off the refer raid so that we can make sure he gets his viewer points. Whoop whoop.
Whoop.